So what is going on, my fellow collectors? How is everybody doing today? DareDevil 19 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Justice League Batman. So let's get into it right away and start off with this cool looking box. So we do get a basic looking style box when it comes to the SH Figuarts DC line. So we do get the window right there in front of the box, and on the window in silver it does say SH Figuarts. On the top left we do get the Justice League symbol. On the bottom right we do get a very nice image of the Batman figures. It says Batman, Tamashii Nations, and Bandai. And then here is the bottom of the box. And then the top of it here, we do get the Batman symbol, looking pretty cool there. And then here is the one side of it with a very nice image of the Batman figure. And then here is the other side of the box, looking pretty cool there. And then the back of it does show a few poses you can get the figure into, along with his very limited accessories. But anyway, that is the packaging. Let's get this figure over to take a closer look at Batfleck. Alrighty, taking a closer detailed look, and I think Tamashii Nations really did a dope job with the detail on this Batman. I think the paint and sculpt turned out very good on this figure. The head sculpt I think looks great. One of my favorite parts about the figure. It does look like Ben Affleck under the cowl there, so I do think they captured the likeness of what they could have with Ben Affleck on this figure. It kind of looks like he has a little bit of stubble around his mouth as well, and then the eyes both painted looking in the same direction. A really great job with the paintwork on the eyes there, and just clean paintwork where the skin tone meets the black for the cowl, so plus right there. I love the way the ears look. Very good job all throughout the head sculpt. And then on the neck, the back of it, we do have a little bit of sculpt work on there. And then the front of the neck looks pretty good too, so nice wick on that. And then for the torso here, some people say he looks fat. I think it looks fine. That is how Ben Affleck does look. He is a very stocky Batman, so I think they did a good job with that. Some people think he looks like Fat Man instead of Batman. But the bat symbol, another one of my favorite parts about the figure. I love the sculpt work all throughout it. Very clean paint where the black meets the gray there, so excellent job with the bat symbol. And we do have some very nice sculpting all throughout the bat suit, so big plus right there as well. Nice sculpt work around the midsection for, I guess, those pieces of armor. And we do get some very subtle paint shading here and there on his suit, like on his arms, and I think there's a little bit like on the side of the torso, and then we get some on the legs as well, so I do appreciate them adding a little bit of paint shading. It's better than having none at all. And then the back, pretty plain looking, no shading or anything. I think a little shading would have made it look a little bit better, but most of the time it's going to be covered by the cape. But we do get some nice sculpt work all throughout it. And then his utility belt is another one of my favorite things. They did an excellent job with the paint and sculpt. I really dig the way that turned out. And if you look on the back, on the black part of the belt, it looks like leather. So I love that texture to the belt there. Excellent job with his utility belt. Really cool looking. Very nice tiny sculpt detail. And then for his cape, another one of my favorite parts about the figure, it isn't like the Dark Knight Batman. That one had some bendy wire like in the middle of the cape as well. This one just has bendy wire at the end. It's not as thick as the Dark Knight Batman one, but it is still a little heavy. I feel like it needs to be a little bit more thin so we can get some better, like in the wind blowing around my cape poses. But I think the cape looks good. Very nice stitching, nice clean stitching all throughout it, and it's pretty wide. I feel like it could be a little wider, but I mean it's decent, and it is pretty long also. But you can never go wrong having too much length or width with Batman cape. So the cape also made out of a very nice material, so big plus for the cape right there. And then the arms, very nice sculpt and subtle paint shading on the gray right there, so good job with that. And then the gauntlets, another one of my favorite parts about the figure. I mean, that just looks dope. I love this goldish color, this very like dark gold. It's like a metallic type gold, and these are sharp, so be careful of that. But I do dig that paint right there. And on the top of it, we get some like straps sculpted on there and everything, and I think that looks pretty cool too. Now for the legs here, oh yeah, one issue I do have with the waist here, it's not horribly loose, but it is a little loose, as you can see there. I mean, it's going to stay in poses, but it does have that looseness to it, kind of like the SH Figuarts Jango Fett, and that is something I am definitely not a fan of. So that's something you guys might have to be wary about if you get your Batman figure. I don't know if it's just mine or if everybody will have this issue. Now for the legs here, very nice sculpt all throughout the legs. We do get some great shading around the thighs and some sculpted wrinkles there, so really great job on the thighs, on the leg there. And then the knee joints look great too. We get some nice sculpting on it, and I believe there is some shading on the knee joints as well. Now for the lower legs here, the boots look sick. It has that same type of look to it, like the black part of his utility belt, like it's leather. So I really dig that texture that they put to it. Same with on the feet, and we do get sculpted wrinkles on it. You just get some very nice sculpt work. Great tiny sculpt detail on his boots there. I was trying to get it closer so you guys could get a better look at the boots. Then we get like a little buckle and strap around the ankle. And then the feet look dope too. I think the texture looks better on the feet compared to the boots. And we get some sculpted wrinkles on the top and side of his foot there. And then we get the little gold plate on his toes right there. Nice clean paint on those. And on the bottom, we do get some sculpted treads. So overall, I think the detail was executed extremely well on this Justice League Batman. I just don't know if the color gray that they used for his suit is accurate to Justice League. I feel like this is more of a Batman versus Superman Batman, but I could be wrong. He might have worn this suit briefly in Justice League. I just can't remember. If anybody does, feel free to comment it in the comments below. But anyway, let's continue on. Moving on to the accessories, and as you can see here, we really do not get much included with this Batman, and that is pretty damn disappointing. I mean, they could have at least included an unmasked interchangeable head. I don't know why they didn't, but what we do get with this figure, we do get one single Batarang. They could have included like a couple of them, but they did a nice job with it. I do like the silver for it, and the sculpt of it looks great, so I think they did an excellent job with this single Batarang here. So we do get that. Then we do get the grapple gun with this extra piece here. And I'll show you the grapple gun first. They did a very nice job with the grapple gun. Probably my favorite accessory out of everything. The handle looks great. Beautiful sculpt and paint all throughout this thing. And he does grab onto it perfectly fine. And then we do get this extra little piece that you can peg on the side of the gun. And it looks pretty good. I don't know if these are extra grapples or something like that. But what you do here, you take off this tiny little piece. Be careful not to lose any of these pieces. It's just pegged in, so you just unpeg it and then line up the peg properly with this piece. I believe it goes on that way. I'm doing it upside down, so sorry about that. There we go, I flipped it, and then you just peg that in like that, and I feel like that looks much better than the other piece there. So we do get the grapple gun in that little extra piece. And then finally we get 8 interchangeable hands. So we do get a pair of fists, of course, which come on the figure out of the packaging, and very nice sculpt and paint all throughout these. So really great job on these interchangeable hands here. We do get a few sculpted wrinkles here and there, and nice texture sculpted on the palm, and the gold paint on the knuckle pieces are nice and clean and sculpted on there pretty good too. And all those hands are fairly simple to interchange. They are a harder plastic, so I would just be careful when you interchange the hands. So we do get a pair of those, and then we do get a pair of these open hands here. Very nice sculpt and paint once again on these. I do like the sculpt work on the palm. I think that looks pretty cool. Then we do get like some sculpted wrinkles on the fingers there. That looks cool too. Very nice job on the top of the hand as well. So we do get a pair of those, and then we do get a pair of Batarang holding hands, and very nice sculpt and nice paint work on these as well. So good job with the Batarang hands. And then finally we get the grapple gun hands, and once again very nice sculpt and paint on these hands as well. But anyway, that is all the accessories included with the Batman. Let's keep moving on with the rest of the review, shall we? Now for the height of the Batman. To the top of his bat ears, he stands around 6 inches tall, and this figure should really stand around 6 inches and 1/4 of an inch tall, because that is more around the height of Ben Affleck. So Tamashii Nations did mess up there a little bit, making the figure a little too short, which is an issue some people do have with the figure. And then here he is compared to the SH Figuarts, the Dark Knight Joker, the Dark Knight Batman, the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn, and the Suicide Squad Deadshot. And I feel like Batman should be around the same size as this Deadshot, since Ben Affleck and Will Smith are around the same height. And then here he is compared to the SH Figuarts Suicide Squad Joker, the Mezco 112 Joker, and the Mafex Suicide Squad Jokers. And then here he is compared to the SH Figuarts Awakened Warrior Super Saiyan Goku and the Mezco 112 Deadpool. Anyway, there's some quick comparisons. Let's keep moving on with the rest of the review. So now for the articulation, and of course the cape does have some articulation to it, since there is bendy wire on the ends right there, so that is definitely a plus. I always like when they put bendy wire in capes, because it does give you that option to have it to pose it around, you know what I mean? Or you could just have it draped down like that. So you do have a few different options posing around the cape. Now for the neck joints here, this Batman I feel like doesn't have the best articulation, which is a bit disappointing to me. The upper neck joint, you could get Batman to look up about that much, which isn't that bad. Then going down, he doesn't really look down the best. He just pretty much looks straight ahead. We do get a little bit of pivot. Actually, some very good pivot. My mistake. And then we do get swivel at the upper neck. Now, the lower neck joint, we have some horrible movement there. I mean, it barely moves forward and back. Like, it goes forward about that much, and then that's it. And then just goes back to its position. Minimal pivot out of it, and it can slightly swivel as well, so you really just get a tiny bit of forward movement with that lower neck joint. It's almost useless articulation. Now for the torso here, we do get a joint right under the bat symbol, but really minimal forward and back movement. That is just horrible torso articulation. Same with the pivot, really bad pivot, and then barely swivels. This joint at the torso is practically useless. Very bad articulation with that torso joint. Now for the waist here, we do get much better movement compared to the torso, as you can see. It doesn't really go forward that much, but it does go back a lot. So with both joints, he only crunches forward that much, which kind of sucks. Both joints, he does go back decently. You get much better pivot at the waist than it does swivel. And the waist joint here, you can kind of shift around his waist, as you can see right there. So I do like how you could use the articulation like that as well. Now for the arms here, we do have a butterfly joint here, so you can move the arms out forward. That's definitely a plus right there. Then you do get a very nice circular motion out of that shoulder joint right there, which I do like that point of articulation. And the arms do go out to the sides a little more than 90 degrees. That's definitely a plus right there. No bicep swivel, and I do wish he either had bicep swivel or swivel at the elbow joint. I really hate when it's just, you can only use the swivel at the shoulder. I really do not like when figure companies do that. We do have a double jointed elbow. Bends in a little more than 90 degrees, so it's good. At least it bends in a tiny bit. You can get slight swivel out of the elbow, but it's very minimal. So I do wish we got better swivel out of the elbow, or we just got a bicep swivel. And the bicep swivel, I think, would have looked fine on this figure. And then we do have a ball hinge on the wrist, and you really don't get the best movement with the wrist joints. It does swivel and hinges back and forth, but it does get hindered with his wrist here, so you kind of have to tuck the hand under it to get more hinge out of the wrist there. But it's really not the best type of movement, even if you do that. Now for the legs here, we do have the shifting leg joints. They do shift down a tiny bit, so Batman can kick forward a little more than 90 degrees, goes to the back about 45 degrees, then his legs doing the splits almost go out 90 degrees, so that's definitely good. Then we do get to swivel up there. We have a double jointed knee that bends back pretty much all the way. And then for the ankles, they do swivel. They hinge up just a tiny bit, and same with hinging down, so really bad up and down movement. Even if you tuck the foot under the ankle there, you really don't get the best up and down movement. And then same with pivot. You get some horrible ankle pivot with this Batman. This is the worst ankle pivot I've seen with an SH Figuarts figure. I mean, that is just ridiculous. That is such bad pivot. They really need to work on making better ankle pivots for some of their figures, because like, what is that? You really won't be able to get them in certain poses because of how lame that ankle pivot is. It pivots to the outside better than the inside, so that is very disappointing to me. But we do have a nice toe hinge. So overall, the articulation really is lacking in some points. Some points are good, but some points are just really bad. What I mean, you're still going to be able to get them in some decent Ben Affleck Batman-like poses, and I'm about to show you some of them right about now. But anyway, that is my review of the SH Figuarts Justice League Batman. Hope you enjoyed it. If I had to rate this figure between a 1 through 10, I'd have to give it a 7.5. If you would like to know the price and where to buy this figure, I did have mine imported from Japan from Ami, but I know my buddy from Ageless Geeks will be getting this in stock once it releases in the US from Bluefin, which will be in about 3 to 4 weeks. And don't forget, when you purchase stuff from Agelessgeeks.com, to enter in codename DareDevil, and you will get yourself a 5% off discount. I will put more information in the description below. And if you would like to support the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on that notification bell. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, just give it a thumbs up anyway because action figures are awesome. But thanks for watching. I will see you later. So we do get a basic looking style box when it comes to the SH Figuarts DC figures. So we do get a little under on the right. We do get a nice image of the Batman figure. Says Batman, Tamashii, and blah blah blah. Let's get this figure over to take a closer look at this awesome Batman. Oh damn it! Let's get this figure over to take a closer look at Ben Affleck. What the hell? I feel like this figure should stand more around 6 inches and a quarter of an inch. I feel like this Batman should be the same height as Deadshot, since Ben Affleck and Will Smith are like around his chin, on the side of his cheeks, and everything like on the side of his cheeks. Of course, they're on the side. That's where cheeks are!